What's the story, Morning Glory? What is up, Buttercup? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days, Season 6, Episode 12, Field of Dreams. This was a really good episode. I was interested the whole entire 2 hours. So let's start off with Riley and Violet. So Riley tells us that him and Violet had gotten into that fight where he had his best friend, Tiffany, ask Violet, why didn't she delete the app? What was her true intentions with Riley? Just really interrogating her about how sincere she was about Riley. And if she really loved Riley, and if she did, then how come she was still on that dating app, etc. And Violet felt very offended because in her mind, she's thinking, this is just his friend. This is not even his family member, even though Riley said that Tiffany is like a sister to him. So Violet was like, why is she interrogating me? And how come Riley isn't stepping in to stop her? Because Riley, not only was he not stepping in to stop Tiffany, why would he stop her when he put Tiffany up to this? But he was encouraging Tiffany to interrogate Violet. So Violet felt like her man was not there to protect her, while this woman who she doesn't know, who is not related to Riley, is yelling all these questions at her. So in that whole situation, in my personal opinion, I put 100% of the blame on Riley, because this is your woman, okay? Violet is your woman. This is a woman that you chose. So whatever issues you have with her, you need to address them yourself and not pull your friends in to do the dirty work for you. So I really blamed Riley on the breakdown of that whole entire situation right there. I don't blame Tiffany because she was just helping out her friend. I don't put too much blame on Violet because she was kind of blindsided. But I put all the blame on Riley. So, you wanted Tiffany to question. So these are the questions that, he had wanted Tiffany to ask her, because in this episode, Riley says something about how, okay, yeah, we got into that big fight because, Tiffany was asking Violet really personal questions. So it was kind of like he had removed himself from the equation. Tiffany was asking Violet the personal questions because, Riley, you asked Tiffany to ask Violet the personal questions. Tiffany didn't just wake up that morning and say, let me contact Violet and figure out what the hell is going on. No, you reached out to Tiffany and you had your friend ask your girlfriend all of those really personal questions. So don't act like you had nothing to do with that. So Riley and Violet decide to meet at a cafe to talk. He brings flowers and he also brings an apology. So Violet tells him that I accept your apology, but I'm not going to forget what you did. So Violet says that she's more upset that Riley did not protect her from Tiffany's interrogation. And Riley said that, yes, I understand, because I know in your culture, friends are not family. No matter how close they are, they're not family. And so, yeah, I understand how you felt having just a friend of mine ask you all those questions and she wasn't family. So Riley says, Riley asked in that whole situation, do you think that you played any part in it, or is it completely my fault? And Violet tells him straight up, it was all your fault. She took no responsibility at all. I don't know. I guess the responsibility that Riley wanted her to take was for her to admit or to talk about why she still had that dating app on her phone. I think that's where he felt like if you didn't have that dating app on your phone still, then none of that would have happened. But Violet didn't see it that way, and she wasn't going to take any accountability, and she put all the blame on Riley. So Riley says, well, I answered all of your questions, but you never really answer my questions. And Violet says she blames it on the language barrier. She says, well, I don't really speak good English, so I don't know how to answer your questions, which we all know is complete and total BS. Violet's English is very good. Okay, she understands it well. She speaks it well. So she needs to miss this with a whole, because I don't speak English. That's why I can't answer your questions. We can have a conversation about anything else perfectly in English. But when you start asking me questions, all of a sudden I'm having a problem with my English. So yeah, miss this with that, Violet. So Riley, he's very apologetic. He promises to protect her in the future. And Violet tells him, this is the last chance that I'm giving you. If you mess up one more time, it's over. So later on, we see them at the Buddhist temple. And this is supposed to be a very peaceful, serene moment. You go into the temple, you say your prayer. And Violet says that she is not She doesn't follow the Buddhist religion, but she does follow the teaching. So she's not Buddhist herself, but she follows the Buddhist teachings because it's supposed to be like a good way to live your life, with peace and serenity and respect, etc. So they say their little prayer. And after they're walking out of the temple, Violet asked him, well, what did you pray about? Which, I guess, and Riley was kind of like, am I supposed to tell you that? It's just so crazy how, I was a little bit surprised that she asked him that, because I also assumed, like Riley, that your prayer was supposed to be private, because that's how it is in America. When you pray, unless you want to volunteer what you pray, people don't really ask, oh, so what did you pray about? So he was like, oh, okay, so I guess we're supposed to talk about it. He tells her that he prayed that he doesn't hurt anyone with his words or decisions, and Violet tells him that she prays for her family, and she also prays for their relationship. Later on, we see them going kite flying. So they're flying the kites. It's a tradition there in Vietnam. On the weekends, everybody goes out to fly kites in this particular park, and they're having a really good time flying kites. And in the middle of all of this fun that they're having with the kite flying, Violet decides to ask Riley, are you going to be able to support me and my daughters? Doesn't she also have a son? But she only mentioned her daughters. Maybe her son is grown. I don't know. So Violet's like in the middle of kite flying. I mean, there's no pre-course. I mean, she didn't like prepare him for the question or anything. It was just they're flying a kite, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's like, are you going to be able to take care of me and my daughters? How much money do you have in your bank account? So Riley, he was so taken off guard. I guess, he just responded. He couldn't even think of an answer to avoid the question. So he just answered it. And he says with investments and savings, he has about $100,000 in his bank account. And he's like, does that sound okay with you? Are you okay with that? Are you comfortable with that amount? So Riley says in his confessional, he says that this question really caught him off guard right in the middle of them flying these kites. So she's like, well, yeah, I guess it's fine. I don't know if she really understood like the value of 100,000 American dollars, like if that registered to her or not, I don't know. But she was like, yeah, it's fine. And so then they sit down, and then Riley says, well, since you asked me that question, I have a question for you as well. And so he says, do you regret contacting my father and telling him bad things about me? At first, Violet tries to avoid it all by saying, oh, that's in the past. Why are you bringing up the past? We already talked about this, and we're not going to bring up the past anymore. And Riley says, I'm not bringing up the past. I'm not trying to bring up the past. I'm not trying to argue with you, or it's just not supposed to be some long drawn out discussion. I just have one very simple question. Do you regret contacting my father and telling him those bad things about me? And Violet says, no. So then Riley, he doesn't show it at that moment, but in his confessional, he went off. And in his confessional, he was really bad that she took, no accountability for that she wasn't regretful that she did that, simply because it hurt him. That she would go behind his back, contact his father, who he has a very close relationship with, and, talk these really negative, bad things about him to his father. And so he expected her to at least be apologetic, simply for the fact that it made him feel bad. It hurt his feelings that his woman would do this to him. And she was like, no, I have no regrets. None at all. So I don't know if I don't even know if they were really understanding each other on this issue. Like he really wanted her to acknowledge that his feelings were hurt. Not so much like regret going to the father, but regret the effects that had. And I don't know if she really understood that. Maybe if she would have understood exactly what he meant, like, hey, you did what you had to do at that time, but at the end of the day, it hurt my feelings that you did that. So he wanted her to be like, well, I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings. But she didn't really see it that way. She just saw it as, do I regret doing what I did? And in her confessional, she says she did what she did, by contacting his dad, because she was really mad at him. They were going through this argument like they always do. And she was really upset with him. And yeah, so she was like, no, I don't regret it. that was not acceptable to him at all. And in his confessional, he said something like, yeah, I brought that up because MFer, I want to know why you did that. So in his confessional, and I know he was like really passionate about what he was saying, but he referred to her as an MFer. And I know he was upset, but y'all, I just hate it. I hate it when couples call each other names or refer to each other in derogatory names. I really hate it, especially in public. Now, behind closed doors, y'all can do what y'all want, but like in public, in front of other people, I hate it when couples have these derogatory, and he said it very casually. And I know it was just part of the speech that he was giving when he was like, yeah, MFer, I want to get to the bottom of this, referring to her contacting his dad. But it really rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, if you feel that comfortable referring to her, and I know he doesn't think of her as that, it was just, he got caught up in the moment of talking, but still, if you refer to her that way, that means that you're comfortable using that language when you're talking about your girlfriend, and you must not really have a lot of love or respect for her. Bottom line, I just don't like it when couples or like parents and children in public refer to each other in those really derogatory names. But I don't know, maybe I'm putting too much on it. So at the Kite, when they're at the Kite place, at the park, after they talk about the whole father situation, she says, you know what? I have a nickname for you. And I'm like, oh my God, please don't call him an old fat man or an old fat black man or whatever you called him last time at the seamstress. She says, I have a nickname for you. I called you, what did she call him? King Kill Feelings. That's what she said. Can't kill feelings because you know how to kill the feelings. And I think what she meant was, you know how to kill the moment. We could be having a really good time here, and then all of a sudden, I think that's what she meant. I mean, did she mean like he killed her feelings for him? I don't know. But Violet, girl, you kind of started it when you asked him about the finances. Why couldn't y'all just fly the damn kites and leave it at that? Like, why do y'all always have to have these, hardcore conversations in the most weird times? Like at the seamstress, everything was going great. He was getting fitted for his traditional Vietnamese outfit. And then she tells him, you know what I told the seamstress? I told her I call you old fat guy or whatever she said. Like, why, Violet, do you always find the weirdest times to bring up things that's just going to unravel the whole entire moment? So she tells him, I call you King Kill Feelings because he killed the feeling. He killed the moment. I don't know. All I can say is this. Riley, to me, it's kind of clear that this woman, I think she's looking for a sugar daddy. I think Violet is looking for a sugar daddy. These two people do not love each other. Riley wants, he wants to have a relationship. He's really desperate for a relationship, and this ain't it. I don't think this is it. I don't think so, because they argue too much. They've got way too much conflict. And I think Violet is looking for someone to take care of her and her family. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right, but that's my personal opinion. That's what I'm seeing. I don't really see these two people as really having deep, sincere, loving, caring feelings for one another. They're in this relationship for their own selfish reasons. They're wanting the other to feed some type of a selfish need that each of them has. Either he's desperate just to have a woman in his life, and she's really desperate to have someone take care of her and her family. She doesn't even seem destitute to me at all, but for whatever reason, she seems to like really, I think she's looking for a sugar daddy. And the fact that there's a possibility that she may be talking to other men as well. She might be having other relationships going on with Western men. So yeah, she's looking for a sugar daddy. She's got to do what she's got to do for her and her kids, but I think that's what it is. Moving on to Statler and Dempsey. So it's the day after Valentine's Day. Now, as we saw on Valentine's Day, that night, Statler asked Dempsey, no, she didn't ask her. She told her what her plan was going to be. My plan is to move in with you because I love you, you love me, so let's do this. And Dempsey was kind of like, So it's the day after Valentine's Day. Dempsey is still bothered that Statler had communicated with her ex. Oh, that's another thing that came out on Valentine's Day night, that Statler had gotten in contact with her ex, and the ex wanted to see her when she arrived in England. So Dempsey is like really turned off by that, as she should be. So Dempsey feels like Statler hasn't really closed that chapter of her life, because she's like, well, if that was really over, they should not even be in communications with each other at all, period. So there must still be some type of lingering lingering something between the two of them for them to still be communicating at this point. So, but Statler, on the other hand, she doesn't understand why Dempsey's making such a big deal about the ex contacting her, because she's like, I don't have any feelings for my ex. I didn't go up to meet her. It wasn't a big deal. So I don't know why Dempsey is, putting 20 on 10 on this whole ex situation. And she thinks that Dempsey is using the ex as an excuse to not move in with Statler. So Statler has a voice call, or no, what do you call it? Yeah, a voice call, or a FaceTime, I guess, with her best friend Natalie. And so she fills in Natalie on what's been going on, letting Natalie know that I asked her, or I told her that I wanted to move in with her. I told her about my ex, and that her best friend was kind of like, I think you kind of probably, you might have scared her off, because I was putting a lot on her. You told her, you didn't even ask her, can I move in with you? You basically just told her what you were going to do, what your plans were, whether she liked it or not. And then you talk about this whole situation with the ex contacting you. Yeah, you need to kind of slow down, Statler. You need to kind of pull back a little bit. So Statler did receive the information. She didn't argue. She wasn't defensive. She didn't try to justify her actions. So she was like, okay, I hear you. So later on in the evening, Dempsey comes home from work, and Dempsey tells her that they're probably, the whole thing about them moving in together, Dempsey's like, I think it's a little bit too soon. We need to kind of slow down a little bit and just enjoy the moment and just let things happen naturally. And so Statler disagrees, and Statler, because what Dempsey said was, I think this is too fast for us. And Statler says, it's not too fast for me. It's maybe too fast for you, but it's not too fast for me. I am ready to do this. So they talk about the ex-girlfriend, and then Statler says, because Dempsey was like, you made arrangements to meet up with her when you got to England, and I don't understand why. And then Statler was like, no, let me stop you right here. I did not make any arrangements. We did not make any arrangements to meet. I was just telling you what she wanted. Nothing happened. No arrangements were made for me and her to meet. I had no intentions of seeing that woman. So, don't make it out to be something that it's not, because it's not that at all. So Statler is afraid. Okay, so Statler, so they start talking about Statler's insecurities and the reason why she's moving so fast. And Statler is afraid, in my opinion, I think that she's afraid that if she doesn't have a promise from Dempsey that they're going to move in together, Statler is worried that she's going to lose Dempsey. And that's why she really wants to get this confirmation from Dempsey that when she comes back to England, that she's coming back to live with her. So she talks about, being adopted, how that's affected her relationships, because she says, I wasn't even wanted before I was even born. I was not wanted. Now, I feel two ways about Statler when she talks about her adoption thing. I don't know if she uses her adoption story as a tactic to manipulate people to want to be with her, or if she seriously feels this way. I can understand her seriously feeling this way, like, I've never been wanted. All I want is love in my life, blah, blah, blah. I get that, but I wonder if she's conniving enough to understand that people can fall for that, because it's totally believable. Oh my God, you were adopted, your parents didn't want you, and now you have these issues of, being wanted and being loved, and I want to take care of you. I don't know if she's trying to portray herself like this lost little puppy that nobody wanted, and so then the person that she's with is going to feel so sorry for her and want to love her and take care of her, or if she really, really feels this way. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I got my good eye on you, Statler, but I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt that this is how she really feels. Okay. Now, if she does feel this way, this whole, she's got this fear of abandonment, this fear of rejection, nobody's ever going to love her, she's never going to be good enough for anybody, then if you really feel that way, Statler, I'm going to need you to go sit on somebody's couch and talk with a therapist. Okay. You need to speak with a therapist, psychoanalyst, psychologist, psychiatrist, or something, a professional in the mental health field. Because if these are the feelings that you're having and it's affecting your relationships like this, you need therapy. You need to understand that your parents' decision has no bearing on who you are as a person. Okay. They're making that decision of giving you up for adoption. It doesn't it's not a measurement of who you are as a person, and it's not like the whole world is going to see the way your parents. You need to go see a therapist. Okay, you need to go see a therapist ASAP. When you come back to America, book an appointment with a therapist to talk about your issues of abandonment, because as long as you carry this whole thing of, because my parents didn't want me, nobody will want me, girl, you're always going to be alone. You're always going to be alone, and that's what you don't want. So you need to girl, anyways. So Statler acts like, she's receiving what Dempsey is telling her about moving too fast. Dempsey also said in her confessional that her abandonment issues are not a reason for them to move in together. So Dempsey is like, okay, I feel sorry for you, girl, but that's not going to persuade me to have you move into my caravan. Statler agrees to slow down, but she says in her confessional, she says, yeah, Dempsey's right. We need to slow it down a little bit. Da, 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 da. And at the very end of that sentence, she says, but I hope when I come back, I can convince her to let me move in. What you should be saying is, we need to spend some time apart, not apart, like physically. Like, she needs to be like, what, when I go back to America, I need to just, plant myself in America and see where this relationship goes. That's what she should have said. But no, she was like, oh yeah, I hear her. I understand. I need to slow down. But when I come back, I hope she lets me move in with her. I don't know if Statler is extremely conniving or if she's really this poor, pathetic soul. And if you are that poor, pathetic soul, Statler, you don't need a relationship. You need help. You need to get therapy. You need to, go see a psychologist. Moving on to Nicola and Misha. So they've made up after their last disagreement. So they decide to go fishing. And when they're out there fishing, they talk about how Misha is about to meet Nicola's mom and brothers. And so Nicola is not happy about this at all, but he figures it's going to have to happen because Misha just won't let it go. So Misha is really worried that they're not going to like her because of her past. Now, Misha tells Nicola to tell her exactly what his family says, because she makes it a point to tell him, when we get to your family's home, I need you to translate exactly verbatim everything that they're talking about. And so Nicola says he will. He says, oh, of course, Misha, I'll translate. And then he tells her, but what they say might hurt your feelings because my mom is old and she's set in her ways and she's just going to say whatever the hell she wants to say. So if you're ready to take all of that, I'm going to translate everything that they tell you crystal clear verbatim. And I'm warning you, you may not like what they have to say. So the family knows nothing about her. I think maybe they know of her, like very vaguely, like she's just a friend of his that he talks to on the phone. They don't know the depth of their relationship and the fact that, they're talking about getting married and him moving to the United States, honey. So Nicola wants to hide her past. And Misha's like, no, I don't want to hide my past. I want to be very transparent with your family. I want them to know exactly who I am and what I'm all about. And Misha's like, okay, girl, I try to warn you. So they're getting ready to go see his family. And Misha is extremely nervous. He's very anxious. He's impatient as she's trying to get ready. And this is going to be the very first time that Nicola has brought a woman home to meet his mother. So they get to the house. Misha had brought flowers and candy for the mother. The mother was very appreciative. Misha, I could tell she was like really in a way like trying to take control of the moment, trying to take control of the situation, because she was bossing Nicola around, put these candies in the refrigerator. And then when they sat down, she told Nicola, okay, come and sit down next to me and translate everything that your mom is saying, and translate everything that I'm saying to your mom, and don't walk away. So she was really like taking control of the situation. So the mom, she's kind of like, oh, she's cute and I like her, but I don't even know what this woman is doing in my house. So then the brothers come over, and then everybody, they greet each other, blah, blah, blah. They sit down to finally eat. The food looked really good, by the way. And Misha wanted Nicola to explain to the family about their relationship. And Nicola says, no, Misha, you explain. My brothers speak English. And then Misha says, no, I want you to explain in Arabic because I want your mother to also understand. And so Nicola says, no, I don't want to do that. He says, I don't want to do that because I don't want people all up in my business. My life is very, very private. So then the brother says, Nicola, where'd you find her? Where'd you find her? As if he came home with this lost stray dog. The brother is like, where'd you find her? And that's where the episode ended. Misha, go home. Misha, it's time for you to go home and forget about Nicola. Go home. Okay, this ain't it. This is not it. Because look, y'all, they've been talking online for 7 years. 7 years. You would have thought that in those 7 years, if Misha really truly loved her and wanted a future with her, you would have thought that he would have found some way to explain to his family who Misha is, what she's about, what they're really. In 7 years, you could not think of any way to break it to your family that you're in love with this American woman. Yes, she's married. She used to be married and and she's divorced and she's got kids and all. But I love her. I want to be with. This is in 7 years. You couldn't do it. I don't think that Nicola is that serious about Misha. I don't think so at all. I think that he was online. He was fooling around online. Somehow or another, he got the attention of this beautiful American woman, and he felt very flattered, okay, that she saw something in him, and he just kind of ran with it. He didn't know, he wasn't even thinking about like where this is going and what does all of this mean. He was just enjoying the fact that this beautiful woman is paying attention to me and whatever, he just got caught up. Now this woman is talking about marriage. I need to meet your family. You need to tell your family about me. And I don't think he even thought that far. I don't think he ever realized that they were going to be at this point where she is sitting in his mother's living room demanding him to tell his family they're getting married. And he keeps talking about how my family expects me to marry a virgin, someone from my own country. So he was trying to play both fields, trying to play both sides of the fences, trying to play Misha, trying to play his family. Now these two worlds have collided violently, and he doesn't know what the hell to do. Misha, you are too grown of a woman. Okay, girl, you're in your 40s. You are too grown. You got 2 teenage daughters. You don't need these kind of games, these kind of teenage games. Go back home and start all over. Moving on to Christian and Cleo. So Christian and Cleo, they're trying to put the relationship back on track after this, what do I call it? I don't want to call it a miscommunication, because as far as I'm concerned, Christian was extremely clear on what he meant. He meant what he said, and he said what he meant when he told those producers we didn't do nothing. We just kissed. He meant that. He knew exactly what he was doing. This misrepresentation of the facts, or I guess, I don't know. So after all of that has been said and done, there's still some tension between them. So the plan for the day is to go meet with an astrologer who also happens to be one of Cleo's friends. So Cleo believes in this astrology stuff, 1,000%. She's really into it. Christian does not. So the bottom line, so they go see the astrologer, and the astrologer pulls up their charts and, the lining of the stars and the planets and all this and that. The bottom line is they don't really have much of a future. The astrologer tells them, yeah, I don't really see this as being anything long term. So Cleo completely breaks down because the astrologer is just confirming her fears. Cleo has known. She has seen the red flags. Her gut has been telling her from day one that, Christian may not be the one for her, because he's just very disrespectful. He's very disrespectful of her, disrespectful of their relationship. I mean, the first night when they went out and, he started engaging the women at the table next to them into conversation. You're supposed to be having this moment with Cleo, just the two of y'all alone, and you're trying to bring in a whole group of girls into y'all's business. Like, what? And then the whole situation with, every time there was time for them to go to bed, Christian got really awkward. It seemed like maybe he wasn't ready to be with the trans woman, or maybe he was but didn't want anybody to know that he was. Just a lot of mixed signals, a lot of confusion. The water is so muddy, it's so murky, it's not clear, and it doesn't have to be that way when two people get together. It should be crystal clear if y'all are going to be together, y'all want to be with each other or not all of this confusion. And then lying to the producers about when they did finally consummate their relationship, telling the producers no, nothing happened, we just kissed, when coming to find out they did the whole full shebang. They went all the way and then some. And he didn't want nobody to know. Then he lies about the reason why he didn't want anybody to know. He says, I'm trying to protect you. You're just trying to protect yourself, Christian. You're just trying to protect yourself. So yeah, I'm so glad the astrologer told her the what's up. Like, yeah, I don't really see this lasting for a very long time. And Cleo knew. That's why she was crying, because she wanted it to work out with Christian, and the stars and the planets was just confirming what she had always felt about this man. So I'm sorry, Cleo. I'm really, really sorry, but I don't think Christian's the one for you. Moving on to David and Sheila. So David and Sheila, their biggest thing right now is that Sheila really wants David and her son John Riel to bond. She really wants them to have a relationship. John Riel has been sort of standoffish or whatever with David, and he's a child, so I'm not putting any blame on him at all whatsoever. He doesn't really know this man. This man's a stranger. Plus, he's deaf. They don't really know how to communicate with one another. So they decide to go out to the beach, and before the beach, on their way to the beach, Sheila is expressing to David that I really want you to bond with my son. Are you ready to take on the responsibility of being a father? And David is like, sure, yeah. So he tries to bond with him right then and there in the car. He tries to play games with him in the car. Then when they get to the beach, David spends time with him and trying to make the boy feel more at ease with him. And it worked. John Riel had a great time with David at the beach. John Riel even said himself that he had fun with David and that he wanted to learn sign language so that he can communicate with David better. And I was like, come on, John Riel. So after the beach, they go to a restaurant. John Riel talked about how much fun he had with David. And then Sheila tells David that John Riel does not have a relationship with his own father. So this is where she asked him, actually, are you ready to take on the role as a father for him? And David told him, of course, yes, he's more than ready. He's looking forward to being a father to John Riel. They asked John Riel, are you ready to move to the United States? And the little boy says no, because all he knows is the Philippines, his family, his friends. That's all he knows. That's his whole world. Why would he want to leave that? So he says no, he doesn't really want to go. And then David tries to convince him, when you go, it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to go to a brand new school, make new friends, and play the sports that you like, etc. So David reassures. Okay, so then David also talks about, he convinces Sheila that he is also ready to take care of them as a family, because I think that Sheila asked him, are you ready to take care of us? And David says, yes, that is my responsibility, is to take care of y'all. So that's what he says. And it sounds extremely convincing. All we can hope and pray for is that, he keeps his word. But this is like, out of all the couples on this show, like I said before, this is the one that seems the most genuine. And I noticed that both Sheila and Violet asked their men, can you take care of me financially? And it was they both asked their men the same thing, but then with Violet, to me, it seemed a little bit gold diggerish, but then with Sheila, it just seemed really genuine. Like, she's really concerned, can you take care of us? And I feel like Sheila would be willing to put in the work to pull her own weight when she's finally able to. Like, she's really going to want to pull in her own weight. And I don't think that Sheila's talking to other men. Violet, on the other hand, I feel like, she still may be keeping up communications with others, trying to keep her options open, because to me, Violet just seems a little bit more about preservation of self and, trying to make sure that she chooses the best option for her. Like, it's just kind of conniving and manipulative on Violet's part. And then on Sheila's part, it just seems more about love and wanting to be in a relationship, but still having the wherewithal to make sure, like, you're going to take care of me and my kid, because my kid is still my priority. Moving on from there, Geno and Jasmine. Okay, when we see them, they're shaving each other's nostrils. Absolutely disgusting. So I figure out the purpose of these two people is to completely gross us out. They just want us to be uncomfortable. They want to bring the cringe factor each and every time they're on camera. They don't take themselves seriously anymore on this show, so I don't take them seriously. So they're shaving each other's nostrils. I think they're using the same razor. Y'all, it was disgusting. So they talk about how their intimacy has definitely improved. Geno says, because, now Geno has reached the mountain peak with Jasmine, finally. So all those years of, climbing and falling, he's finally reached the mountain peak. So Geno says that things have improved because their relationship outside the bedroom has improved. Whatever, I guess, because for whatever reason, it finally improved when she wanted to play this, S&M game with him, this dominatrix game, or whatever the hell was going on with the whip and the all of that. So that's what made it improve. I don't know if it's because y'all's relationship is improved or because you finally figured out, you know, what his kink is, his kink level. So the next day they're taking a walk and they're talking about babies. Geno talks about how he asked her, do you think you might be pregnant? And then that starts the conversation about babies. And Geno's like, I really want to have a child. And then Jasmine's like, okay, let's put the brakes on that and talk about that. So Jasmine's like, look, if I didn't want to have a child, would you still be willing to be with me? And Geno was like, I'm kind of confused because the plan has always been for us to have a baby. And Jasmine talks about, you know, how hard it is to have children, and children are really chaotic. So Geno is extremely confused. He's like, why didn't you express these issues with me before? Because we've always talked about having a child. And I remember the first time that we met Jasmine and Geno, when he came to Panama to see her, wasn't she like secretly taking birth control pills but telling him that she wasn't? That was very deceptive. So, Geno's like, well, why are you telling me now that you're having doubts about having kids with me? And Jasmine says, well, because now, you know, you're able to complete the act when we're together. So now, you know, there's this possibility that he can get her pregnant. And so he's going to be wondering if I'm constantly completing the act, how come he ain't getting pregnant? So I guess now she's realizing she's got to tell him the what's up. She's never wanted to have another kid with Geno. She just basically lied to him. I don't know what for. And so I think Jasmine I don't think she wants to put her body through a pregnancy, because right now the money's coming in from the show, Geno, wherever, and she's able to get all these procedures done on herself, and she's worked on losing weight. I don't think she wants to mess up her body. So I think that's really what it is. So Jasmine says, okay, yeah, she tells him because before, you know, you weren't completing the act. Now that you are completing the act, and, you know, we're doing the things that makes babies now, I need to let you know that that's not what I want. And so Geno's hoping that once Jasmine moves to the US, she'll change her mind. No. Once she moves to the US, she's not going to change her mind. She's going to do anything, but she's going to have, you know, even better access to plastic surgeons and whatever else is going on. Yeah, she's not going to change her mind about that. I don't think so. I don't think Jasmine has any intentions of having a baby. So good luck with all of that, Geno. Thank you so much for joining me for this review. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.